Bonaire might be known as an amazing place to scuba dive, but you might not know that there are so many other amazing things to do on this island when you're not diving. Coming up. And if you're new here, I'm Christine Lozada with Where in the World is CL. They make travel videos every week to help you get up, get out, and go travel. So if you like to travel, consider subscribing. There are so many fun things to do on this island. I'm super excited to share with you some of these amazing things. So let's dive straight in with the first one. One of the things you'll notice really fast once you get to Bonaire is there's a lot of donkeys everywhere on the island. And I've been here before and I've always wondered, why are there so many donkeys? Visiting the donkey sanctuary is a must for learning more and also getting some pretty up-close, fun interaction with these donkeys. So I was really excited to come here to learn more about them. Let's talk about it. If you've ever been curious about why Bonaire has donkeys, let me tell you. One thing that's interesting is these donkeys, hold on, let's talk about this first. They're not natural to the island. They were brought by the Spaniards in the 17th century to help with, the hard labor, the working the land, and there are around 1,100 donkeys on the island. This is not a big island, so that's a lot of donkeys. But obviously now they're not needed for this type of work anymore, so they're just here. And one thing that is sad is that they are often dying of starvation, of dehydration, of other things. Other things like it's very common to see tourists opening their car windows right off the main road and feeding the donkeys. And what this does is it trains them to approach the cars, and when they come into the roads a lot of times they get hit by cars. And so when the donkeys are hurt or when they're sick or when they're whatever it might be, they take them into the donkey sanctuary to care for them until they're ready to go back out to the wild again. So the sanctuary is here and it's honestly just a lot of volunteers. And they try to fundraise by doing a couple things. One, you can visit. They're open 7 days a week from 10 to 5 every day. Just show up. Show up and you can meet with the different volunteers, learn about the donkeys, have some up-close interactions. Maybe you'll be lucky like I was and one was just born, and so you'll see a baby donkey. And then you have the option to drive through there, and it's a lot of acres. It's a huge, huge property. And you can drive around. I went over to the observation center and you can just see the entire space and support them for just $9 a person. The other thing you can do, similar to if you saw any of my videos in the Maldives, links in the description below if you missed that, but in the same way on that trip you could adopt a manta ray. Here you can adopt a donkey. So check the info in the description below to learn more about that, because you have the ability to really help the donkey sanctuary to help more donkeys. Let's head over to Lac Bay because there are several things to do here. It's the best diving on the island in my opinion. Check the video in the description below to learn more about my guys Fred and Sid at East Coast Diving. But aside from diving, we've got options to chill at the beach bar, grab a gourmet lunch at Sebastian's beach location, or some adventure windsurfing. But let's start with something that's easily accessible and anyone can do. If you want to see and experience Bonaire in a totally different way, instead of snorkeling and scuba diving on the reef, try snorkeling and kayaking in the mangroves. Kayaking in the mangroves is something I do a lot, especially in Florida, but this was my first time snorkeling in the mangroves, and Bonaire is the place to do this. Let me tell you why. There's actually a lot to see here, and like all mangroves, it's protecting the baby fish in the area. And so you see a lot of fish, juvenile fish, baby fish, all hiding in the mangroves here. It's really pretty how the light is coming through the trees and hitting the water. It just gives a completely different kind of view than what you'll see snorkeling out on the reef. And one thing you'll expect to see a lot, and you gotta be careful not to step on them, is the upside down jellyfish. And they're upside down because they're eating the algae. and they won't hurt you. Their sting isn't as bad as the jellyfish that are out in the open ocean because they're not predators. Since they're just eating the algae, they still have a sting, but it's not nearly as bad. But watch out for them and make sure you don't step on them. This tour was really awesome. It was about 3 hours long, and there's various ways you can do the kayaking tour, so make sure you check the info in the description below. But on the tour, I learned a lot about the importance of the mangroves protecting Bonaire, both providing a lot of oxygen to the area. I don't know if you know this, but mangroves create 3 times more oxygen than rainforests do. And it's protecting the reef. And what's unique about this is instead of hanging out on the south and the west part of the island where most people are at, you're heading over to the east side of the island. So afterwards, you might consider doing this next activity, which is heading over to Jibe City to windsurf. By the way, if you're getting some value out of this video, cheers that like button, consider subscribing, and tell me in the comments below if there are other things you're considering doing so that we can help each other as a community and come up with more ideas, because I'm returning to this island and there is way more to do than I anticipated. But let's move on to the next one. Windsurfing is something I've always wanted to try, and I'm so excited to share this one with you because Bonaire is the perfect place to learn. One of the top misperceptions is that you need tons and tons of wind to learn to windsurf, and I'm actually really thankful that I came early in the morning when they opened at 9 a.m. I headed over to the east side of the island to Jibe City, where Jamal and Caesar welcomed me and gave me a lesson. And what's interesting is in Bonaire, the wind picks up as the day goes on. So in the morning, I had really steady, slowish, maybe 10-mile-per-hour winds, which made it so much easier for me to learn. Because even though I started at 9 a.m., I was out there until 11 a.m. and the wind started picking up. And when the wind picks up, it's not necessarily consistent. It would gust and blow. And when it does that, it's like on the windsurf. So it gets hard to stay upright and steady versus when the wind is slower and even. So if you're considering this, I definitely recommend the morning. But Cesar made it so easy for me and so much fun to learn how to windsurf. One of the things that's so unique about Bonaire and Lac Bay, where you learn to windsurf, is there are places I've traveled to, for example, Zanzibar, where the tide goes way out and way, it's extreme tides. Here, it's very even all the time. And what's interesting is literally as far as I can see, okay, just really far, it remains waist high, deep of water. And there's no, unlike Zanzibar, there's sea urchins everywhere that you can step on and rocks everywhere you can step on. In Bonaire, the water is not only shallow, so if you fall off your board, it's very easy to get back on your board, or if you can't figure out how to get back, like me sometimes, you can just walk your board back and you don't have to be afraid of sea urchins and rocks, etc. It's mostly just sand, and you can see clear to the bottom, which also means while you're windsurfing, it is beautiful. And so I highly recommend Bonaire as being the place to learn how to windsurf because of these conditions. It makes it too beautiful, too fun, and too easy. Plus, my friends at Jibe City make it a ton of fun to learn how to do it. And after you're done learning, you should consider staying a while because the beach bar has tons of food and tons of drinks and a really great view to chill, hang out, and enjoy your afternoon. This next one is so fun and super unique, and anyone can do it. If you love go-karts, this is going to take your experience to a totally new level because instead of using gas or electricity to power your cart, now you're using the wind. And I got to spend the morning with Cesar windsurfing, but now I'm spending my afternoon with his cousin Landsailing. Welcome to Bonaire Landsailing Adventures, where you'll meet husband and wife Andrew and Donna. They're from New Zealand, which is where this sport originated, and Andrew's actually a fierce competitor at it. It's amazing to watch him ride around in these carts. If you're curious, how the heck does it work? Basically, while you're sitting in the cart, you're using a rope to tighten or loosen your sail, and that will determine how fast you're going. So it's cool because if you feel like you're a little out of control or you're feeling afraid, you simply let go of the rope and your cart will, well, come to a slow and then a stop. But if you're feeling fast and furious, then you can yank really hard and tighten the rope. And in good wind, you can reach 30 to 40 kilometers per hour in speed. And on stormy, gusty days, you can get up to 60 kilometers per hour. So you can go pretty fast in these things. Oh! Why am I so slow?
Just come deeper into the corner, don't worry.
Okay. What's cool is the team stands on the track to help you out. So if you're like me and you're on the struggle bus and it's not intuitive to figure out how to take the turns around the track. So, you know, if you completely lose all wind and speed, they will give you a little push to help you out. But it's super fun and super safe. On the website, you can learn more, link in description below. You can rent the track for 30 minutes to an hour at a time or do a private rental of the entire track. And it's really fun. They have info about the wind conditions that are coming up, so you can determine how fast and furious you want to be, but do not miss land sailing. I'm looking the wrong way because it's right there. Oh, neat! Oh, I'm excited. This next one I'm super excited to share with you because it has made me appreciate the island of Bonaire in a totally new and different way, because I spend all day scuba diving and looking at the coral, but this time you have the opportunity to be inside of the coral. It's so cool. So hold on. All right, let me back up. Let's talk about it. Oh, it's so bright. He really is that tall. First, you gotta meet Dirk. Dirk is, in my opinion, the tallest caveman in the history of ever. Welcome to the caves. We're sweaty in here. Are you sweaty too?
No, not at all. This is also for giants and for dwarfs.
Tell me in the comments below if you know anyone who does cave tours taller than Dirk. It's pretty amazing. But he's been doing these cave tours for 7 to 8 years. And he's super fun, super energetic, and super passionate about it. And he really tells you about the history of Bonaire through these caves, because in the sediment, in the way that the caves are formed, it tells you so much about the history. I thought, and I'm gonna be totally honest here, I thought Bonaire was formed as a result of volcanic activity, but that's not true. It's the meeting of tectonic plates. And what's interesting is by these plates pushing together, eventually when they came up high enough in the water, coral was formed on top of them. And so this entire island, the entire island is made of coral, which is really phenomenal. And so on this tour, we go on 2 different locations for caves. And hold on, let me tell you something right now. It's hot. It's hot inside the caves, but there's a silver lining, because in the second cave, you get into some pretty cold water. We'll talk about it. So let's talk about the first cave, which is just a couple minutes walk off the main road. And it's interesting because you'd be like, are we here? Like there's a cave here, and all of a sudden there's like this hole in the ground. And this is what they call the ladder cave, because there's just a ladder, a short, regular sized ladder rather, that brings you down into the cave. And as you go into the different rooms of the cave, you learn about all the different stalagmites, stalactites, stalagnates, and so much more that tells you about the history of Bonaire. When I'm talking history, I'm not talking about the last 100 years. I'm talking over thousands and thousands and thousands and lots of years. And it's really neat to see it. And there's also bats in the cave, which here's an example of something I now appreciate. There's cactus all over the island. And the reason for that is the bats are the ones that are pollinating the cactus. And I didn't know that bats could fly far. There's not that many bats on this island. And so they actually are capable of flying the 55 miles all the way over to Curacao to be able to mate with other bats. I think that's so cool. This island used to be filled with Brazil trees, but they were cut down by the Spaniards many, many years ago, and now it's tons of cactus. Yeah, you will also, aside from bats, find some cockroaches, and it's pretty dark and quiet and creepy in the caves, but it's really, really fun. Let's talk about cave number two. You are climbing down with ropes, and this is not for everybody. You have to have some athletic ability to be able to do this, but you are going down into the cave via some ropes, and then there's this entry pool area. And like I was said before, the water's pretty cool, so I'm literally going down this cave with just my mask and snorkel, and then you, my camera, are coming down there with me, and a flashlight. And this, what they call the kiddie pool, is a small pool that leads to a larger one. And inside, sometimes you can see some fish, but generally you don't see anything at all. You see more rocks, more stalagmites, stalactites, but you can, if you look closely, see some little shrimp that if you stay too still for too long, they'll come over and start cleaning the skin off of your body. But there's little tiny shrimp inside of there. But this is cool, fresh water, and you can swim down through the caves, and there are options for that. You can do a tour that allows for that. For me, I've done enough of the cenotes in Tulum. If you're curious what it looks like to scuba dive through spaces like this, make sure you check out the other video in the description below, because it's pretty cool to see what these caves look like underwater. But on this one, I just kept my snorkel on, and like I mentioned, this is a great activity, actually, even if you're a diver, because, you know, before you fly out, you need a day off from diving, and this is a really great one to check out and appreciate what you're seeing on the scuba diving side by being inside the coral on the cave side. Let's lounge on the beach and go snorkeling. And this next one is up for debate because there are so many options of where you can go in Bonaire. Many people go to the south to Pink Beach, very pretty. And a lot of people also like to go to Klein Bonaire, or Little Bonaire, which is an island that's a short 25-minute water taxi from Bonaire. If you have an experience you love going here, please share it in the comments below. But I actually chose not to go because all of my friends went, and yeah, it wasn't superior to other places you can go on the island. It's very remote. There's nothing on this island. In other words, no food, no bathroom, no amenities, nothing. But the snorkeling and the reef here aren't necessarily superior to the rest of Bonaire. So I actually would recommend the place to go as being 1,000 steps. I'll admit right away, it means there's no sand. In other words, you would be sitting on the coral on the beach, but it's one of the most beautiful spots, and the reef isn't so deep that you can actually see things when you're snorkeling. And so this is one of my favorite spots that I recommend for lounging and going to the beach and snorkeling. What about beach clubs, where you can get a daybed, have some drinks, eat some food, listen to some live music, and more? Join me in my restaurants video for more info about some of the options on Bonaire. There aren't tons, but there definitely are options. One of the best things about Bonaire are just the views. It's a beautiful island and people love to cruise around, whether you rent a golf cart to go see the views, or you rent a scooter and you cruise around, or you just rent a car or a truck and drive around as well. But there are things to see, whether it's the slave huts, it's the salt pier, or it's the flamingos, or the donkeys and goats that are everywhere. Just driving around the island is really beautiful. Consider checking out my other video, my driving video, so you can get a sense of what it's like and then choose your adventure with what kind of vehicle you want to go exploring in. Can you recognize where I'm at in this video? I'm at the national park, which, to be honest, is kind of a trek to get to. And I personally was wondering, is it worth checking out? Full info in the description below. I put out a separate video about it, but the short answer, there are some really beautiful sights to see up here. I hope you had some fun with me in today's video. Make sure you check the description. There are so many more videos about this island. And let's go grab a bite to eat. Join me in the next video. Let's talk about some of the restaurants that are here, and I'll see you over there. Ciao.